So that's the first thing to do, is making decisions about that and making decisions about scope. The second thing I have to do is sufficiently understand the TechLive config file, because that's the thing that controls everything. And if you can make it do more work for you, let it do work for you. If you can run tech with a special config file for a special file, the output you want, that will save a lot of work in terms of developing the software. So that's the next thing. The third thing is to set up some toy examples. So I'm thinking of a 10 megabyte download or something that you can just install, download and unpack and install, and it works. My first PC, I'm being an old man here, had a 40 megabyte hard disk and 1 and then 2 megabytes of memory. And I was able to typeset a couple of papers on it using LaTeX. So it ought to be possible to produce a 10 or 20 megabyte download that is self-contained and does something useful. Fourth is priority decisions. And a lot of that will be what makes it easy for people to understand, what makes it easy for people to get hold of this, what users are there, potential users are there that might be interested in this. So making priorities. And I think that a goal would be a useful 100 megabyte text system that can easily be enlarged. So I have a 100 megabyte core, and it does some things that are useful. And then it becomes easy to enlarge it. And when I say enlarge it, I mean enlarge it, and you still get exactly the same capabilities of the portable documents and that sort of thing. So if somebody wants to use label and different fonts and so forth, they can do that and build on top. And in some cases, an enlargement might simply be a matter of saying, here's my document. It uses things from TechLive that aren't in the 100 megabyte distribution. Figure out what they are and create a repository for me on Git that makes those resources available for the people I want to collaborate with. That would be the sort of model. I think the idea that two people can collaborate without having to go through a great big hub is one of the key goals I have. The team of two, the team of three, collaborating by establishing the shared resources that they need and to do their work and to ensure reproducibility. And that fits in with the whole model of Git, which is that it's a peer-to-peer system. And that, I think, has been enormously powerful. I think that Git has been as important in many ways as Linux has in terms of software development. It certainly changed the whole model of what goes on. At this point, I'll come to an end, I think. Anybody is welcome to say anything.
I'd like to add a little comment, which in present company is probably very trivial and naive. But for an author, for a user, I would like to see all of this written or defined and written in layers. The top layer would be that the author would write something equivalent to the use package command. And he would name, say, a style file, he or she. And that's all the author would know about. But when this thing is run, there would be an engine at a second level that would go away and convert that, the current version that is available on CTAN or somewhere, to a hash code. And the map from the currently used style files to hashes would be stored in a local file. And that local file would be part of the portable LaTeX that the author creates, because if I've understood correctly, each hash is unique to the current version of a file somewhere, like a style file. Anyway, lower levels, not the author's problem. He or she should only have to write a use package and then know that it's going to create a file like an aux file, say, but with a different name. And that file, when distributed with the author's source, renders the whole thing portable. Now, I don't know if that's feasible or if that fits with what you've been talking about, but that's what I'd like to see.
You asked a question. It is feasible and it does fit with what I'd like to see. And I'm very grateful to you, Dwight, for putting that focus so clearly on the user experience.
I have a question. Is it guaranteed that a previous year of TechLive is frozen?
Sort of.
Yeah.
I've put up a sort of toy repository up on GitHub that's got the past 10 years of TechLive as it appeared as CD for the, I think it's the Tech macros. I did it to show that it could be done. And I think it's something like 2 gigabytes that expands to 8. It's 2 gigabytes, it's about 2 gigabytes as a tech repository, as a Git repository. But if you unpack it to get all the years in separate folders, it occupies something like 10 gigabytes. So at the moment, it's not guaranteed, but it's there. And I like the DVDs because they provide a shared reference point.
Yeah.
What you're talking about is editing the history, rewriting history in a repository. And I believe it's possible with Git, but definitely not recommended. And with Mercurial, I believe it's impossible. So the answer to your question is yes, with some additional rules enforced.
Yeah, I think for quite a long time, perhaps the entire existence of TechLive, the policy has been that when the next year's version is released, updates to the previous one cease and there are no more patches to it. This is a problem operating systems people run into as well, because there could be security patches and they know that a previous version of the OS is still in use. And it's difficult for people to update to a new OS, and yet they really would like to have the patches. But I think at least for TechLive, we can assume that there is a freeze point with give or take 2 or 3 weeks around the point of release of a New Year's edition, so that we could squirrel that away and say that is TechLive for a certain year at the end of that year.
So that actually in 99% of the cases, instead of the hash for the individual style files, all you need is an indication of the frozen TechLive year.
Yes and no. Somewhere, somebody knows the secure hash for the universe. If you have the secure hash for the DVD for TechLive, and you have the secure hashes for all the leaves, then you know that anything that uses only, then you can determine that your document uses these items that are leaves and therefore can be found in this location, and other items which then have to be found somewhere else, such as from the author. You'll only get the proof of the Riemann hypothesis from the person that wrote the proof. So there's pluses and minuses for having a big secure hash and a secure hash for a big object and a secure hash for a small object. But the Tech Live on the DVD and the Frozen Tech Live at the end of the year are both important reference points. Both the beginning of birth certificate and death certificate, if you like, of the year.